morning and welcome to Central Station here in Newcastle, as you can see behind me, and we are on our way. The journey to Germany starts here. You might ask, well, why are you heading there? Well, we're on our way to Newcastle United's training camp. Don't worry, we have been invited. We're going down to London Stansted, flying out there to Nuremberg, of course, closest airport to where Newcastle have been based. And it's been, by all accounts, a really productive training camp for Eddie Howe and his players, and the media are coming to ruin that. On Friday he will sit down with us along with a couple of the players. We'll get a little look at what's going on in training, and we'll also get a little look around behind the scenes at Adidad. Obviously this has been such a huge partnership for Newcastle in terms of commercial revenues, but actually getting invited to use this facility is a really big win for them. You know, this is where the German national team picked as their base. Of all the places they could have picked for the Euros, they picked there. Arsenal have been there the previous 2 summers, so it's really elite. I think it's been a perfect period for Eddie Howe to just cocoon his players, just get some proper work done. They really need to get those players as robust as they can ahead of the new season. We all know the injury issues they had last season. It's a really important week, and off the field as well, a lot of meetings going on. The executive team are over there. Paul Mitchell, the new sporting director, is over there. We've seen Jamie Rubin's over there, so it's been an important few days, I think, for Newcastle on and off the field, and really interesting to see how it all goes on Friday, because Eddie Howe, he's got so much to talk about since we last spoke to him. Obviously the owner's leaving, PSR issues, and the big one really with Gareth Southgate stepping down. Eddie Howe set to speak about his future for the first time. So the journey starts here. Wish me luck. Hope you enjoyed those views as much as I did. Yes, we're through security here at Stansted Airport, one step closer to landing at Nuremberg on our final stage of the journey. And yeah, what can we expect in the coming days? Well, as I was mentioning earlier, Eddie Howe is to sit down with the press. We'll also be hearing from Lloyd Kelly, Tino Livramento and Lewis Hall. Lewis Hall, of course, his move was made permanent this summer. Tino Livramento, first full pre-season with Newcastle, and Lloyd Kelly, new signing, who's previously worked with Eddie Howe. Real intrigue around him, a free transfer. I don't think you'll find many better free transfers out there this summer. I think the key for Newcastle is keeping him fit. We know what he can do when he can play. A proven Premier League player. It's just getting those minutes on the pitch. You know, that's what Newcastle will need from him. I think this is why this period is really important. You know, ensuring, as I was saying earlier, he's got a good load going into the season to really stand up to the rigours of the Premier League. Because I mean, if they can get him on the pitch, get him. You know, he's still young for a defender, still has a high ceiling, there's still a lot to come. You feel there's a real player to work with there. So we'll be hearing from those guys. We'll be looking around the Adidad archives as well, looking at Newcastle United kits from the past. I'm really excited about that. Obviously, we all know about the original partnership going into the entertainers era. We're expecting a couple more nods to that in the kits to come. And we all know, the first kit, the launch of that was huge, so I'm expecting big things from that. So I'll keep you posted on our next step. Just glad to be through.
Quarter past 5. Dit is Man City duas bolas por fast. Until the air comes to open the final stop. And I can't see the bus was out for you. Careful, low window the helicopters.
welcome to Nuremberg. Finally here. I think it was about 8 hours. Had a delay on the runway. It feels a lifetime since I was in the northeast. Maybe struggling to talk, even more so than usual. But yeah, I could say it's been worth it. I only dropped the bag down at the hotel and come down here to record this. But what a quaint city is. It's full of so much history, as we know. But that's not why we're here. Friday's the big day, of course. Friday morning we'll be heading out to Adidad headquarters. There's about a dozen journalists who've made the trip over. Not bumped into any of them just yet, but everyone here really, I think it was a big crowd going over anyway, but the story just gets bigger and bigger, of course, every day with Eddie Howe in England, and that's what we're going to be here to discuss. So I think everyone knows how ironic, by the way, an Irishman talking about the England job. I'm very neutral, at least, but with Eddie Howe, obviously we know he's called the England job previously the ultimate job. I think any Englishman right now would be attracted by that position. You look at the foundations Gareth Southgate's left to be built on. There's a World Cup coming up, then Euros in the UK and Ireland, so it's a really enticing prospect for any manager. And you know, I think one day he will definitely manage England. I do. Whether it's now, I think tomorrow will give us a good indication. We've seen Ange Postecoglou, who was linked with the position, really shut it down very quickly when he faced the press. Eddie Howe previously, when he's been linked with the position, it's gone back a couple of years. He's had it along the lines of never say never, but he would emphasise how much he enjoys club management. And it's easy to forget he's still a young manager. He's 46, still has a lot to achieve in the club game, in my opinion. You know, he's yet to win a major trophy. You think how hard he had to work to get the Newcastle job in the first place, to then take the team from the relegation zone into the Champions League, and even last season, the way it finished, he'll really want to come back strong. We know nothing more is driving him than being the man to end the club's trophy drought. So for me, if he was to go, I think people would understand to a degree. You know, the England job's the England job, but personally I feel he still has, I think unfinished business would that be the right phrase for it, but he certainly still has more to achieve at Newcastle. You know, I think for an Englishman now to get a job like that, it's very hard. You know, look at the top 7 clubs last season in the Premier League. Eddie Howe's the only Englishman. You know, to give that up, I think would be a big ask for him. You know, his family are settled in the northeast. He's obviously brought in so many players. Degree of loyalty. He's quite a loyal figure as well. Signed a new multi-year contract only last summer, which doesn't have a set release clause according to Darren Eales. So there's a lot pointing to what his answer probably will be tomorrow when he faces the press for the first time. But we know there's been a change of dynamic boardroom level. Obviously, Amanda Stavely and Mary Jakadusi leaving. We know, new performance directors come in, new sporting directors come in. But I thought it was really interesting the other day. Darren Eales was very quick kind of to say that those appointments are really designed to help Eddie Howe. And you know, looking from the outside, they do seem very aligned with him. You know, the kind of players, the kind of playing style, the targets Paul Mitchell like. I think there is a lot of overlap with Eddie Howe. I think it's just going to be kind of establishing a bond really, because these guys haven't worked together before, and that's always a challenge really when new people come to a club, particularly before the start of the season. But the fact that they're in here now, the fact that they're at the training base, I think that tells you a lot. You know, a lot of meetings going on at the moment, both to look ahead to the transfer window and just preparing for the new season. You know, I think Newcastle want to come back better, stronger, faster. We know they're going to have Sandro Tonali to come back. I think that's huge. Joe Linton, of course, missed so much of last season. He's such a massive player for them. He's now settled with that new contract. There's a lot already, I think, to go up a level. And then you would think the final weeks of the window, you look at that right-sided forward, that looks the position they really need to strengthen. They're also looking at bringing in a right-sided centre-back. If they could get a couple of new starters in there, I think they'll be quite well placed to really attack the league this season. Obviously, no Europe is a big blow, missing out last season, but we look at when they made the Champions League last time, they had more time to really train, to really attack sessions. Train as they play is the phrase they use behind the scenes, and they also had more time to recover between sessions. So I think that bodes well. We know how high intensity Newcastle are when they're at their best, and I think this week they've had here is going to be really important for that. You know, the foundations, the markers, they're really set in pre-season and trips away, and they've been doing double sessions, they've been working hard in the heat, and the group is also coming even closer together. You know, the great thing about that campus, the players literally sleep on site. There's games rooms, there's a basketball court, there's a swim pool. They spend a lot of time together as well as training together, and I think that bodes well. You know, certainly we're only coming as they're nearing the end of their time there. I think they can come back on Saturday, so they'll be winding down a bit, but I'm really excited to see, you know, I say winding down, I think it'll be as intense as ever, to be honest, on Friday. We're going to get a little glimpse of training, which doesn't happen every day. I remember even the Champions League games, they were obviously kept tight as well, so that'll be really intriguing. And as I said, you know, everyone is kind of waiting to see what Eddie Howe's response when he's inevitably asked about the England job. I think in some ways he might be more forthcoming about other things that he's usually a bit more guarded about, you know, transfers or injury news. I think in some ways he'd rather talk about that at length than, you know, the bombardment he's going to face about the England job and emerging as one of the FA's kind of leading candidates. But that's all to look forward to on Friday. Thank you for following along with us. It's going to be really exciting on Friday with the training ground. We're going to get a peek behind the scenes at Adidad, look in the archives even, which will be amazing. And as I was saying earlier, speak to Ciaran Kelly, Lewis Hall, Tino Livramento and Eddie Howe. So stick with us, and yeah, wish me luck.